And I'm so high. I thought like I was like I felt your guys' presence like from the other room, like physical presence.
Jesus Christ! What are you smoking there?
Like good shit.
Living in the stratosphere.
What's up? I'm back.
But you didn't wash your hands, did you?
I always wash my hands. Thank you very much.
Prevent COVID-19.
I'm gonna smell them tomorrow at work.
I'll make them extra salty for you.
Yeah, you nasty motherfucker. All right, we'll we'll transition into our next session. We got Mott's on here. We're gonna talk about, we wanted to discuss prepping and kind of some end of the world situations, like what would you do? What are you gonna want to have? If you do have a plan in place, you don't gotta say what your plan is, but maybe you can make an alternate one. Like if you were maybe stuck somewhere, what would you do? Mott, you want to go first, or
Yeah, go first.
You can pass, and one of us can go.
I can go. I will say, I feel like prepping gets unfairly lumped in with the conspiracy side sometimes. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people who they go and prep, and it's because they're kind of conspiracy nuts.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and state, like, it's like we'll set like a scenario, like what scenario do you want to do? Like, I think like a nuclear scenario is probably like you're not gonna really want to prep for that. Nobody's really gonna survive. So, and you're not gonna want to come out if you do have some where you're holed up. So that one's kind of boring.
You know what? I feel like something along the lines of the whole supply chain breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about, like, let's say it really truly broke down, and like semi trucks aren't getting food to places. Stores aren't getting supplies for, way more extended times. Not just like, oh, it's a couple weeks between stocking, but like they're shut down. It's not happening. I feel like that's not too unreasonable, and it kind of brings out a lot of stuff you might want to prepare for.
Yeah, I don't think that's unreasonable at all. I mean, that's kind of
the railroads are going off strike right now, I think, or they're about to.
It's not too far off from what we got going on currently. So
yeah, like you said, the railroads going on strike. There was the whole trucker thing going on, and just in general,
the truck driving shortage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then there's also the shortage of workers at, like, say, the docks. They have all these boats lined up to get offloaded, and there's just not enough people to get it all off. So it's just there's a backlog of boats and waiting to get stuff to wherever it needs to go, and it's just taking an extended period of time.
And I mean, if you tie all that in with something like we saw in Texas with that big freeze that very, very nearly shut down their entire electrical grid for an extended time frame. I mean, but we really are like one big emergency away from something crazy happening.
Yeah, 100%. Well, maybe just in like a specific area. I don't know about nationwide, but
we'll just kind of keep it to us and like maybe our thoughts on it.
Yeah. What's what you got?
So I feel like biggest part of prepping, at least in my thoughts, is people prep for kind of big scenarios and whatnot. But what you really want to prep for is, you can have that scenario in your mind as an idea, but the important part is prep for the little situations. So, like in Oklahoma, we get a lot of power outages and everything from the weather.
Yep, tornadoes.
Oh yeah, and I think if you've been in like a 3-day power outage, right, you realize just how much it sucks not having AC in the middle of the summer, and your food going bad in the fridge, just everything that comes along with not having power, like not being able to communicate if your phone dies, that kind of thing, finding places to charge your phone.
Yeah, you're realizing like how much little shit you actually have that you can actually eat without power.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to cook things, if you've got an electric stove, which
get fucked.
Not to like promote gas stoves too much, because there's a whole slew of issues with those. But it's just something to think about. But not being able to cook your food. I always say prep for the stuff like that. Prep for the emergencies that are going to happen, and then once you've got a good stock for the things that are more likely to happen, you can start prepping for some of the bigger items. But like you said, having they say food, water, shelter. Those are the kind of the key things. So being able to cook the food that you have, having some sort of stores with extra food, extra medicines if you take prescriptions or anything like that, having water in some way or another. I mean, like I said, even Texas when all the pipes were freezing, just having water that's not frozen too, that's a whole other thing. Those are probably the first considerations. And then from there, shelter wise, like having a plan if your house does get damaged, or having a plan, like I said, just for power outages, it gets insanely hot in the summers. Not having AC for a couple of days. I mean,
That shit sucks.
yeah, even a couple electric fans running off, maybe a little battery generator sort of thing, or whatever you might have, makes huge difference. So I don't know about you guys. Got any kind of weather experiences or whatever that fall in
Yeah,
that line?
actually, fucking Nick, you might remember this. It was like I think early 2000s. We had a really
storm.
bad big ice storm in Oklahoma. I don't really remember it. I just remember like walking outside and it was like everything was like glass. It was fucking weird.
Like
We-
even like where the grass would be.
yeah, it was
like,
just
slipping on it,
glass.
Yeah.
Like we had so much fucking ice, I don't know what the fuck happened because I was so young, but it was bad. It was
Well, I know we lost power for like 2 or 3 days, like some crazy.
yeah, it was so a situation similar to what you're talking about. You can't go anywhere. There's fucking the ice is causing trees to fall on people's houses. Your power, there's nobody has power. It's so fucking cold outside. Like you can't go anywhere. The roads are so slick you can't drive. So that's probably like the craziest weather experience I've had. And I just remember I think I lived with my grandma at the time. I think I was like 6 or 7. And it was like me, my sister, my dad, my grandma, and I think my uncle. And I just remember like we had candles burning in the house. I don't even remember like what we were eating, but probably wasn't much. And it was crazy. I just remember, yeah, you could hear the trees cracking, and they would just fall from like the weight of like the ice attached to the trees.
Yeah.
We had that I think 2 years ago during that kind of same time frame of the big power outage. It was same thing. Like it's crazy how much the ice builds up on the trees down there.
Yeah, and how strong trees are, but it really don't fucking matter when you have that much ice attached to it, and how they don't seem that strong anymore. It's wild. All right.
Yeah.
So in a scenario, your top 5 items, if you could only have 5 items to prep, like if you knew something was gonna happen, you could pick 5 things. On say like an economic, disaster type supply chain issue. What are you taking?
Oh man, that's tough. So first, let me preface that I think usually the best way to survive is to stay home, like bug in, because even if you don't have a lot of supplies there, wherever you try to go, you probably won't have a lot of supplies either. If you look at the stores, they get emptied pretty quick when people even get a whisper. Yeah, well, even get a whisper of an emergency happening, people go and
the
buy up.
water's gone.
Like
toilet
beginning of COVID, people were just buying up everything.
Yeah, just because they didn't know, and they were like, oh well, I'll grab it while I'm here, kind of thing. But I would definitely say some way to start fire. I think that's always important. And so, looking at Texas, right? People were actually, if you had a wood burning fireplace, it was helpful to stay warm. Because even if you have like the gas, little mini gas stovetops and whatnot, like for camping to cook and all that, those are super useful. But I think with like a fire pit, you can do more. You can stay warm, but you can also cook with it. But in general, just being able to start a fire is super, super crucial, I would say, in some sort of extended survival situation.
Yeah, because you could also just fucking dig a hole in your backyard and start a fire with some random shit and cook some food if possible.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even I think in Texas, people are just starting fires and like frying pans and stuff in their living room. I mean, it works.
Right?
So,
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, what are the fire department ain't gonna show up?
mhm.
I would definitely have a weapon, like for how desperate people will
People
get
get.
after a while.
Mhm. I would say the weapon, like, don't get me wrong, I'm all there. I feel like we haven't quite seen that level very often yet, though,
Yeah.
because even with Texas, right, it was a couple days and people were dying in their homes.
Well, I don't know.
But
Look at like when Hurricane Katrina came through.
oh
Fucking,
yeah,
I was watching this. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a podcast, but it was an interview. One of the ones I sent you, that John Ryan show,
hmm
and the dude in charge of Blackwater.
hmm
So when Hurricane Katrina hit, they were approached by I don't remember exactly who it was to pretty much send some of their contractors to Katrina to provide security for Walmarts and big targets for places. So like I don't know. I mean, on a disaster on that level to where like
oh yeah, that level. I mean, in general, I'd definitely say some means to defend yourself. I'd
I'd
always
maybe
put
put that at like the 5 spot,
exactly. So I'm
maybe
getting
6. It's like sitting there like
yeah, I'm
depending on the situation.
exactly getting to the weapon. If we're talking, like I said, just an ice storm knocks things out, I think people are usually pretty confident in emergency services and whatnot. Like
Yeah.
they're confident things will go back together and become normal again. And that's once people start to lose that, I feel like that's when you go into more of the weapon territory and starting to look at bugging out and all that.
Like real panic.
Yeah,
Where it's not
exactly.
like this could just easily be fixed. This is a serious problem now.
Exactly. I would say my number two is a way to purify water.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it kind of goes along with the fire if you have to boil water, but even just having some sort of water filter that you can take and go out to a stream or a pond, whatever. Um, Having that is crucial because, like they say, 3 minutes without oxygen, um,
3 days
3 hours.
without water, 3 weeks without food.
Yep, exactly. I think there's 3 hours for something, but exactly the water comes after fire because I would say 3 hours is the exposure. That's what it was. So 3 hours is like
When you
extreme cold or
fucking freeze to death.
yeah, extreme cold, extreme heat. That's why I put fire there because
Yeah.
the extreme cold will kill you, and then water being second. I'd say the food is important to stock up because really, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'll just go out and hunt, or I'll go out and scavenge for food or whatever." Look,
Nah,
the
I don't think
store,
so.
yeah, the stores, you're going to be fighting people to get food, or it'll already be looted,
It's gonna be
or
like that scene from fucking World War Z if you've ever seen it, where they go to get I think an inhaler for their kid, and it's fucking just chaos in there, and
yeah,
they fucking shoot that guy or some shit.
yeah, exactly. So food, I'd say number three because again, it's helpful in so many situations, but also you're not going to be going to the stores and finding it. It's going to be sold out. You're not going to be hunting because if you get to the point where people are saying, "Oh man, I got to go hunt for food," uh, if you gone during normal hunting season, it's bad enough with how many people there are sometimes. Let alone trying to go out there during the middle of a true sort of apocalypse kind of situation.
Yeah, with all these desperate people just flooding the woods.
Yeah, exactly. The deer, nothing. They're never going to
Yeah,
come out.
no shot.
Uh, number four. Number four, I would probably say uh, maybe like blankets, warm clothing, something like that. It can really kind of depend based on again the situation and the season and all that. But usually some sort of clothing or some way to stay warm or appropriate clothing basically. But I don't know it's hard to tell. I'd say first aid's another good one to put on the list.
Yeah, I think I'd have put medical items
It's
before on number
yeah,
4.
it's really situational, because if you're bugging in at home, you're probably not going to be
Gonna
in
need
serious,
that.
yeah, you're not going to be in serious need of first aid, unless obviously it's like prescription pills or inhalers, that kind of thing. uh, yeah, it's dependent on the season. So 4, I'd say, is kind of a toss up. That would really vary. It really vary depending on what's happening, what's going on. And then 5, I would put as some sort of defense, preferably firearms, but some sort of defense.
You're not gonna rock the crossbow.
You know, Crossbows are great and all, but like, man, have you ever gone and watched any of the self defense videos, like people capturing them getting mugged or whatever on like their Bing cameras or their home cameras?
No, I haven't.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, if sometimes it's like 3 dudes coming in trying to rob the place after, like, they drive into their garage, they're going inside, and the 3 dudes were hiding out, and they try to rush the door.
Yeah,
One shot, probably not going to do it.
I'm rocking the
mean,
shoddy,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
the semi-auto.
even like the 10-round magazines for pistols and whatnot,
You're
it's
probably gonna miss a couple with
yeah,
panic and adrenaline,
it's
unless you're
surprising how much ammo you can go through.
well trained and CQB and a high pressure situation like that. You're gonna miss a couple unless they're fucking right in front of you and lined up. Like you're gonna miss.
Oh yeah.
Or if they had, maybe they're shooting back at you,
Hmm.
you're definitely gonna miss.
Yeah. So number
Right.
5. Oh, another good one for number 4. Sorry to go back, but a lot of times any form of communication that you can have,
Sort
cell
of like
tower.
shortwave radio type thing.
Yeah, cell towers a lot of times can go down, but at the same time, you still might be able to get some things through. But really, any way to communicate is always good, because typically there hasn't been any full scale, like the entire United States is down for whatever. There's usually a way to communicate with some family in a different area, get some help, or find a place to stay, that kind of thing.
To go back to your water selection. So
Mhm.
say hypothetically you're living in a city.
Mhm.
There's probably not any streams or lakes or ponds immediately available. You're gonna have to travel probably 30 45 minutes maybe outside your city to get to some source of water like that.
Mhm.
And if you're not one to leave your house, what would you do?
I mean, I know a lot of people say before an emergency, like fill up the bathtub, um, fill up any containers, buckets, or whatever else you might have. Say that's always a good option.
Yeah.
You might be able to go find a place outside a building, whatever, and use a little water key, because you can go buy those at Lowe's for $10 or whatever, and turn on a faucet outside somewhere. Uh, I mean, there's other ways to gather water in like survival situation kind of things, but I'd say most of the time you'll be able to find some sort of water source that you can turn on and collect. And I think just finding a way to collect it, take it back, and purify it.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the biggest issue.
Yeah, at that point, I'm kicking in the neighbor's door. I'm stealing their shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna move defense to my number 1.
I mean, hey, we're not neighbors. We're not neighbors. I'm taking my defense item and moving up to number 1 as an assault item to tactically acquire. Number 3 item is the water situation.
Oh man,
because they probably got the bathtub filled up, and I'm gonna take that.
I mean, it's crazy, but that's
how it's gonna happen at some point. I mean, eventually you're gonna run out, and you're like, oh fuck, I got the water shut off. My bathtub's not running. The water in my toilet's fucking dirty. I can't pull that out. The hose in the backyard's not working. I'm out of bottled water. I'm now about to fucking die of thirst in another day or two, unless I figure out what the fuck I'm gonna do. It's not raining. There's no snow, so you can't just go scoop snow out and boil it. You gotta find. The stores are fucking closed and pick clean. Well, like, what are you gonna do?
It is kind of crazy that some people's plan is probably like, hey, I'm gonna go hit this house.
Yeah. Are you gonna make the trek 45 minutes in your car to the nearest fucking lake? I don't know.
Yeah, which I feel like that's another important thing is not advertising your preps too much. You know,
Yeah, like
'cause
what you
that's
got.
just like you don't want to be the house that everyone's going to go for and be like, oh yeah, they got this and this and this. I mean,
Yeah, but yeah, everybody come to my place. We're good. You know, we're set up.
yeah, exactly. There is some merit in building friendships with your neighbors and community and all that, because they, like I say, the whole lone wolf thing is kind of it's a little bit oversold in the movies and whatnot. I think communities do the best,
Yeah.
but you don't want it to be like you don't get taken advantage of. Long term, I definitely think community is it's an important thing, especially being able to share food, being able to share water. If one
Yeah,
person has something that they can use and help out, and you've got something else. But you don't want to make yourself a target.
yeah, absolutely. Nick, you got a different top five? What do you think?
I have some of the same ones. I'd probably start with like a water filter, some type of water source, just kind of water in general. I'd have as my number one, because it's not quite as important as food, and you're gonna need that, or you literally will die. And then two would probably be food, and then sort of things kind of be a little different. Probably some type of like medical supplies, like in this scenario, I'm envisioning like where um like months down, like this, like we're in a very very like serious state, maybe like doctors aren't available, or like they're overworked, you can't get in there or whatever. You might want to have at least some bandages, or maybe some simple things like fever reducers like aspirin and stuff. Aspirin can stop a heart attack, I'm pretty sure, or can help in like the case you're having that serious of an emergency.
They say baby aspirin is what EMTs use a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
because your blood or your
Huh.
body can take it in faster because it's kind of smaller and broken up and whatnot.
That's actually interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, or like some type of fever reducer. Like if you can't, like so like the doctor's office, like you can't get in there, that could kill you pretty quick if it's left untreated. Four, I would
So if
probably
if your
have.
body if your body can't sweat it out by itself, you're not surviving. You're weak. Move on.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
But
probably won't make it.
only
yeah.
the strong survive.
I'd probably have a weapon at four, because like I'm envisioning a scenario where it's like getting pretty like desperate to where some people probably haven't eaten in days. Um, I've fortunately not had to go an extreme long time without eating, but I can only imagine after so long without eating how,
That shit drives you crazy.
like, even after like maybe a day, I'm pretty fucking hungry. You know what I mean? Like I'll be willing to go to more lengths or spend more money at that point to eat if I haven't ate. Um, yeah, so I'd have a weapon just to defend myself against desperate people like that. And then I don't know what I'd have for five. Like maybe fuel, if you could still get around on a vehicle. You could get to places. That's probably what I would probably fuel for a vehicle.
It's not bad.
Yeah, with fuel, it's tough to store the amount you might need.
Yeah.
But I mean, definitely those first couple weeks, like you got 10, 15 gallons saved up in the garage or whatever. It definitely helps out.
I mean, honestly, I think you could ration 10 to 15 gallons of water for a couple weeks. I think so, depending on your body size and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
much you actually need. Like me, I think I could make 10 fucking 15 gallons of water last for a hot bit. I don't even drink a gallon of water a day. Like
I think it all depends on the temperature.
oh that's true. That's also, and what you're doing. Like are you out moving, or are you just staying in your house?
Exactly. If you're just sleeping at home, wake up, eat a little bit, then yeah, I
Waiting
think
for time to pass.
you could definitely ration. But man, if it's middle of summer and
You're
power
having
goes
to
out,
you're having to move to the fucking 2 states over to meet, on your once you set something up and you're like, all right, we're gonna meet, fucking in Missouri, like at this one
mhm.
spot. Well, I gotta now make a fucking trek to Missouri with 10 gallons of water on foot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be tough. I don't know, yeah. I think there's a lot of things you can kind of interchange just based on the situation. Like if you, I mean, we didn't state that you was having to stay in your home, or the length of how long this disaster or economic situation might last.
Yeah, I
So
think that's the tough thing with the top fives is
yeah,
it's really about where you live. You got to prep for where you live and
Yeah.
prep for the most
Exactly.
likely things. We prep differently in a place where there's not going to be flooding versus down in
a
like Florida.
hurricane
Whatever.
or
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I think absolutely in one of the top and the five is some sort of defense item, what probably a gun. And then with that, you gotta think like, okay, what type of gun do I want? Like if you're just holding up in your house, pistol, shotgun, and if you want to move around and relocate, then yeah, probably a pistol over the shotgun. But then you're like looking to like maybe something a little more mid range, something a little more compact, maybe. I don't know, maybe some sort of AR system that's not too heavy. So I would go with that as one of my ones. Some sort of med, like a decent sized med kit, because a lot of the things in the med kit can even be repurposed for other uses. Um, I don't know what those purposes would be, but you could find something that you could use those items for if you're not using them for medical purposes. And then, obviously food, water, that's 4. And then I don't know, a good caveat to the fuel is a way to, acquire more fuel. You can some sort of siphon system, go fucking siphon people's fuel. I mean, if they're not using the fucking cars, I'm gonna come take it.
See, my thought is where I mean, unless you're trying to meet up with someone out of state, where do you go with all that fuel?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you don't have a plan to move to a whole different, state, then yeah, you don't really need it. Like, oh yeah, me and you, we're gonna meet up in Colorado at this one address, because we know some people there. We might already have some stuff there. Yeah, that's kind of our fallback point, our predetermined bug out location in the event of a real bad fucking shitstorm. Yeah, okay. But I mean, you could also probably make it pretty far on that one full tank of gas.
Oh yeah.
You might not need a whole 50 gallons of fucking gasoline just sitting around. Because I mean, if anything, you could always just ditch the car, go on foot. Maybe tactfully acquire another car with said self-defense item. You could siphon some more fuel. I mean, I know some med kits come with some tubing, so you might be able to fit a tubing down into the gas tank and siphon some shit out. That's what I was kind of meaning on the dual purpose items.
Honestly, what a lot of thieves are doing recently for gas is because cars are installing the anti-siphoning stuff in there. They're just drilling holes in the gas tank in the bottom and then collecting it that way.
I mean, unless you're fucking plating your gas tank, you're not stopping that.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
my 5th item will be a hand drill. And drill in a bucket. But yeah, I mean, those are. I mean, the clothing situation, like you normally have all your clothes at your home, so before you either leave or if you're staying at home, like you already have that stuff.
Yeah.
That's really not why I'm putting on my number on my top 5, because you already have it.
It's all situational. I guess I keep going back to the Texas freeze because that was
a lot of people in Texas don't really have fucking cold weather gear.
Yeah, so just
because it doesn't get that cold there. I mean, it does get cold. It doesn't get that cold.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like I said, it's all kind of. I feel like it's just situational. You can't prep for everything or anything, but you can prep for a decent amount.
Yeah. If you had to pick one firearm to cover, you just get one, no matter the scenario. What are you going with?
Yeah, honestly, I'd probably just go with an AR. I feel like that's a pretty kind of a basic bitch answer, but it's useful for self-defense, useful for hunting. It's got good capacity. Like I said, if you're talking defense and it's 3-on-1, having 30 rounds versus 15, and pistols are great and all for concealability, but it's a lot easier to be accurate with a rifle. And be steadier and put rounds down range. So
And it's exactly what I was thinking. Like, imagine you're bugging out and you're like driving on the fucking highway and there's some sort of traffic jam of like abandoned cars, and now you're moving down the highway and there's goddamn fucking band of looters down the road, and you're not gonna want them to let them get close to you in this scenario. So you're gonna pull out your fucking AR and handle your business. You're like, oh, I got a shotgun. Fuck. Now I gotta either let them come up to me or I gotta somehow maneuver through the cars up to them to able to get shots on them. I mean, pistol's kind of a similar situation, but
I think like some type of assault rifle is probably the best way to go.
and that's
You
what I
want
was saying.
something
Like,
that can fire multiple shots at a time.
yeah, and that's what I was saying. Maybe not a full size AR. Also, with the home defense scenario, you could still use some sort of compact-ish AR for a home defense scenario. As long as you don't got a lot of like hold tight corners to where you're having to swing a whole fucking big ass barrel around the corner of your hallway.
Yeah, well, they say too. I mean, if someone's breaking in, even in just normal home invasion situations, you're much more likely to live if you just kind of hole up in a room and basically point the gun at the door. Like you're
just
not
fucking wait.
Yeah, you don't want to be you're not a SWAT team or whatever.
Yeah, you're not clearing your house.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, say hypothetically, like you got a family, right?
Oh yeah.
Not everybody's sleeping in the same fucking room, so a home invasion occurs. Like you're the first person that wakes up. All right, you're grabbing your shit. You get your wife probably sleeping in the same room with you, hopefully, and then you might have one or two kids. Their bedroom's not always even on the same floor as you. So now you got to go fucking acquire your children. So now you're having to clear your house, or at least your floor downstairs towards wherever the fuck your kids are sleeping. So
I think at that point too, just kind of knowing how to clear corners correctly and knowing how to handle it is important, because you can do that with a longer gun. It's just it's easier with a shorter gun, but it's all about
it's a little tougher, but
yeah.
Just because it's just sticking out so far. So it's a little harder to, keep it close to you and not having it stick out around the corner as you're coming around to where, they could potentially grab it or, see you coming around the corner.
I've got a fun kind of question along the lines of prepping and all that. So let's say hypothetical, it could be whatever end of the world. It could be supply chain totally broken down, like not getting food, blah blah. It could be zombie apocalypse, whatever you want to put in here. But let's say you have time to pick one place, like your house, right? It's in the zone that whatever's happening, like it's gonna be gone. What place do you pick up, or what place do you pick as your kind of hole up spot? Like where are you going?
Like I gotta completely leave like my state, like essentially.
Not your state, but just your house. So like it could be your local area. But like let's say your house got sucked up by that big sinkhole that the government's building. That we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume like maybe in this scenario I don't have like a close relative or somebody I could go to. I'm kind of just on my own in this scenario. Like I don't really have anybody I could really go to their house. I would probably put myself near like a body of water. You could fish to try and get food that way. Then you can, if you have some type of filtration for your water, you can also get that there as well. But your kind of shelter is kind of your main weak spot at that point.
Yeah, I think depending on the scenario, like I mean, if you're going with zombies, an outside spot's a little shaky. Or if you're going for say we got no power, shit's getting crazy, and you just want to get somewhere. I think I would try to leave the city for sure. I mean, you don't want to be in the middle of a city where people are just going fucking nuts. People, because they're gonna be going house to house trying to find supplies. So I think I'm gonna try to find some sort of woodsy area next to some sort of body of water, and then because you're gonna load up your car with all your shit, so you're gonna probably try to get, if that's your intended target, you're probably gonna I got a tent. You're gonna load up all your food that you can that's not gonna be perishable, or that you can maybe cook immediately as well. Clothing for the type of weather that you're currently in, and if it's about to transition to winter, you're probably gonna all right, we're gonna need some coats because we might be gone for a bit. Yeah, that whole top 5 list. And then something you can do, you can take a bunch of limbs of trees and shit, you can cover your tent with brush. That's way, if you got like a brightly colored tent, that way it's not kind of standing out. You can cover your car, and then you can even set up kind of like early warning detections around your camp with cans if you got them, because if you got cans, you're gonna be eating them, and then now you have nothing to do with the cans. You can make fishing lures with like the lids and shit, or even with the bodies of the cans. And then you can set up like a tree branch system kind of around your camp, to where if they step on it, you're gonna hear them, something like that. And probably just kind of hold out in there. If you have a way to communicate with somebody before you leave, maybe like, hey, let's meet up here. That way it's not just you, or just you and your family. If maybe you're the only person that's going to be able to kind of be looking out for them, that way you have some additional help. Because you got to sleep eventually.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I would do, just to kind of get out of the cities.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have some sort of cabin out in the fucking middle of nowhere, that'd be ideal. If you have something like that, or you live out in the country, you don't need to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You just set something up somewhere else. What about you?
I think mine, like if I have to leave home kind of thing, and I got nowhere, no other family or whatever to stay with, I'm going with I would say a high school, either high school or college. So if you think about high schools, right, starting from like security, usually they already have the wire in the windows, like the metal wire, steel doors, brick outsides. They're usually pretty strong buildings, like
Yeah.
weather-wise, people-wise, whatever it is. My high school, at least, like we had a shop class with the big bay doors for rolling the cars in and out. So, let's say it's like zombie sort of thing, right? You can build up like in armor, you can build up a vehicle or whatever in there, and you can roll it out through the bay door to go collect supplies and whatnot, and then you can roll it back through there.
Hell yeah.
You can bring big shipments of supplies in through those bay doors. A lot of times, next to the next to the shop class, you got a welding class sometimes at schools, so you got welders and everything. Sometimes you have woodworking classes. Schools have generators typically, so for at least a good while, you're going to have fuel enough to power that whole building. You've got first aid supplies typically, and at least minimal first aid supplies. The kitchens, you're typically going to have a good bit of either frozen food or non-perishables, and then just all the rooms, right? So if you got, let's say, you're trying to get a bunch of families together, maybe get some neighbors together, you got tons of rooms in that high school. Each classroom could be like a different thing. It could be one for equipment for people, one that you can store food items that people bring,
sleeping rooms.
Yeah, exactly. One room for a family and whatnot. We're looking at COVID too. You can separate out sick people versus non-sick people and whatnot.
You can barricade the hallways, kind of create, funnels of entry to your little area.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, most schools, they've got that brick exterior or concrete exterior. So you're not really, for the most part, they're not going to burn it down and smoke you out. It's going to be pretty tough. And you can
shoot
have
through
people,
the walls.
Yeah, exactly. You have people on the rooftops guarding it. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like schools are kind of slept on as prepping areas.
I like it. What do you think about the prison idea from like Walking Dead?
I feel like any heavily guarded compound like that is probably a pretty decent idea. Like I said, I guess at some point, long term, it's about being able to get resources to keep it running. So as long as you go get food, go get water, go get other supplies, and build it up and whatnot. But I guess in the same, not to not to compare schools and prisons, but in some sense, building
Eh,
wise, yeah,
some sense they're the same.
yeah, security wise, food, you got water, generators, they're strong
Right.
buildings. So
I mean, also with either, you could also kind of build a sort of garden on the roof, some sort
Mhm.
of greenhouse,
Oh yeah,
and
get solar
as long,
panels, for long term if you're trying to get electricity.
yeah, as long as you're in some place that gets, maybe some sort of rain. I
Mhm.
mean, you don't want to probably do that if you're like living in fucking Arizona or something like that. Ain't gonna work out so well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But
no, it's a good one.
so
That's a good one.
I don't know. It's always fun to ask, see what people think.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like mine wasn't that good now.
A high school is so secure, like really, really, just like you have so much there. I
And
wouldn't
there's
have
not gonna
even
be
thought of
anybody
it.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Typically, the people who go to high schools are like the community goes to that high school to meet up. So you're probably not going to be, the people looting and trying to get whatever are going to be at Walmart or they're going to be at the
the
stores.
pharmacies and
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. Whose first idea is like, oh damn, I'm going to go loot the high
Let's hit the
school.
fucking high school, dude. Let's
Yeah,
get them history books.
yeah, exactly. Oh, and
Yeah,
plus, all the books and everything. If you had to,
burn them.
start fires and do that, or
Yeah,
I don't know. There's just so many supplies in schools that you can use to build things you might need, or at least kind of make your stay more comfortable. So
yeah, I like that. I'm definitely hitting the local school if some shit happens. It's a great idea, mods.
there's our new survival plan up here.
I'll meet you there. We're going to the Wichita State College.
Oh, perfect.
Shockers.
Now we're go get that Friends University.
If you think about it, right? If a college, they can get a way to power it without, once the fuel runs out of the generators and whatnot, you've got so much stuff at colleges for, post whatever apocalypse.
Yeah,
Like they've got CNC machines and lathes. Some of them, you got 3D printers. You got full medical facilities. I mean, a college campus is not a bad place to be.
so say you go and move into this campus and there's nobody there but you. Initially, are you going out and kind of consolidating everything to a local area, or are you just kind of leaving everything where it's at and you're just grabbing it as needed?
I feel like getting a good amount of supplies and then holing up in one room would be a good option. And then maybe the supplies that you leave behind, just kind of securing some of those buildings the best you can. So, like,
So
you
nobody
know,
like sneaks in there and kind of finagles your shit.
yeah, exactly. But real reasonably, if some shit's going down, there's going to be plenty of students staying there, and I think that's kind of I would say that's one of the times where it's better because that community is already like how often
Established.
yeah how often are the students going to start attacking each other and killing each other, looting and whatnot? It's going to be more like, hey, we're in this together. I feel like
I don't
we're
know.
kind
College kids are kind of fucking
of
wild.
yeah, but it's like you at least have some sort of thing connecting you, and it's that like, oh hey, we're all here, we're all stuck together.
I think the high school front would be probably a better idea because after hours there's nobody there.
Yeah,
Or
if you're trying to set up and make it just your group, then yeah, the high school would be the best option. But if you're trying to find like a safe place, I can almost guarantee like in that kind of situation, colleges would start opening the doors a little bit, at least trying to help.
yeah,
They'd be trying to find ways.
yeah. So that might not be the best first place to go.
Yeah, but maybe later, meeting up there.
I like it. I like it a lot. Nick, what do you got? Anything?
No, not on that topic.
Anything else on the prepping subject? Trying to think of like a good scenario to pose. That's just kind of like, hmm. I feel like we covered a decent bit.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's so many fun scenarios to consider, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's probably just that your power is going to go out, or
I mean, they're
you're
all mostly similar in some form
yeah,
of fashion. So you're doing this or you're doing that. It's you're not really doing both. You kind of pick one. You're staying or you're going,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then that's going to influence, what you're doing, what you're taking. So
Exactly. Yeah, if you live in a hurricane area, you're probably going. Definitely go and definitely plan to move. So
I'm fucking out. I think the Midwest is probably like one of the best places you can move. Like in the terms of natural disasters, all you got really is
tornadoes.
tornadoes and maybe snowstorms. That's it, and rain, but so flooding. Anywhere else, you got hurricanes, fucking earthquakes, wildfires. Um, what else? Yeah, those three right there are just. I'm not fucking with that. Absolutely not. Because I mean, if some shit happens and then like there's no internet, you're not gonna know if a fucking hurricane's rolling on you until it's like right there. I mean, you might see
Got to
some
get that
stuff.
weather radio. You know.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, is there really gonna be people like broadcasting and monitoring fucking hurricanes on
Oh, maybe.
in an event like that, like where there's
Oh, are you talking about like end of the world? Tons of hurricanes at once, kind of thing, or
yeah, or like in some sort of like maybe a zombie situation. We'll just stick with that one. And you're like holed up in Florida or something like that. Nobody's gonna be fucking monitoring hurricanes. You know what I mean? It's just gonna hit you.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like
If we're talking
maybe
about
a
that
day,
situation.
maybe a day or two before you're like, oh, it's kind of windy out here. It's a little weird. Is it a storm? Is it
I
a
got a bad
tropical
feeling about
storm?
this.
Or is it a fucking hurricane? And then probably by the time you realize it might be too late.
I mean, if you remember, the key to hurricanes is stockpile on that self defense ammo, and if you shoot at the hurricane, it'll turn it back. Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot it
if
right
you
down
get,
the eye.
That's
you get
right.
enough 5.56, you'll turn it around.
God,
Jesus Christ.
that shit was so dumb.